Shocking truth, family reunion turns dark, my account drained, BL's devastating admission. It was supposed to be a simple family reunion, just a couple of barbecues, kids bumping into each other, laughter echoing against the walls of Grandma's house. But it was so much more. Gripped by an unshakable tension, Victor could almost feel the air crackling with something unnatural. His heart raced as he stepped into the backyard where Uncle Bill's booming laughter seemed hollow, a mask barely hiding the chaos beneath. From the corner of Victor's eye, a flicker caught his attention. A shadow passed behind the trees, shaping itself into something strange. A figure, cloaked in darkness, stood just beyond the reach of flickering fairy lights. Every instinct begged him to look away, but curiosity gnawed at him like a dog with a bone. Who was out there? Did anyone else see it? Victor's mind raced, dread pooling in his stomach, and then there was Bill. A character who could always be counted on for outrageous stories. He suddenly grew silent, turning pale as a ghost. The laughter that rang moments before faded into a whisper of air, replaced by an ominous charge pulsating through the yard. Victor's chest tightened, a lump forming in his throat. The reunion, which promised warmth and nostalgia, had morphed into something menacing. Did you hear? Someone drained my account. Bill's voice broke like shattering glass, colliding with the lingering silence. Everyone turned to him, expressions shifting from joy to disbelief in an instant. Gasps filled the air, a collective exhalation of shock. They leaned closer, eyes wide, all ears on the unraveling mystery. Bills were paid late, funds disappeared. Was there a thief among them? Or something even darker lurking in the shadows? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Trust me, Bill continued, voice trembling like a leaf in a storm, this isn't just bad luck. Something's off. The crowd buzzed with whispers, each voice a thread pulling tighter around Victor's mind. His stomach twisted into knots, the unease spreading like wildfire. The flickering lights danced eerily above them, shadows stretching and contorting as if alive. Fear prickled along his spine, a warning that in that moment, the fallen leaves rustled behind him, a chill creeping down his neck. He dared a glance over his shoulder. The figure was gone, but the weight of what could lurk in the darkness pressed heavily on him. Was it merely a trick of the night? Or was something sinister watching? The laughter had vanished, and the air hung thick with curiosity and dread. As Victor stepped closer to Bill, he couldn't shake the feeling they were standing on the edge of a revelation, one that could change everything. What lay hidden in the shadows? Victor's mind swirled as the tension thickened. Each family member exchanged wary glances, looking for signs of a thief among them. The flickering lights cast erratic shadows, twisting every face into something unrecognizable. Just a few moments ago, this had been a celebration. Now, the air was laced with uncertainty. What do you mean it's not just bad luck? A voice piped up from the back of the crowd. It was Cousin Lou, his ever-curious nature always eager to uncover family secrets. Are you saying someone did this on purpose? Bill opened his mouth to answer, but the words never came. Instead, his expression morphed from concern to horror, and suddenly he was staring over Victor's shoulder, eyes wide. Victor's heart raced. He instinctively turned to see what had captured Bill's attention. The shadow he thought he'd imagined was back, a shape materializing between the trees, half illuminated by the twinkling lights. Just a trick of the light, Victor muttered to himself, but deep down, he felt the cold grip of fear settle in. Bill! Someone shouted, jolting him back to reality. What do you know? Is there something you're not telling us? Victor looked at Bill, searching his face for answers. The uncle he admired so much suddenly appeared so small, so vulnerable. He rubbed his temples as if to banish a headache, and Victor saw the shadows under his eyes, the weight of dread carrying every unspoken word. I thought it might be a prank," Bill stuttered, taking a step back. "But it's not. I did some digging into the bank statements when I noticed the missing money. There are transactions, multiple ones that I never made." A pattern started to emerge. "What kind of pattern?" Victor urged, his heart pounding even harder. Bill swallowed hard, a lump traveling down his throat. "Anyone could have access to my account. If you can guess the answers to my security questions." A wave of anxious murmurs swept through the crowd, growing louder. Fingers pointed at each other as suspicion lurked like an unwelcome guest. "Wait a second. Are you saying one of us could have done this?" Lou shouted, voice rising over the murmur. Gasps erupted. Friends and family were on the verge of turning against one another. Victor felt the tension break as the noises amplified. He spotted the cloaked figure again, retreating further into the trees, almost as if it were smiling at the chaos erupting behind him. The urge to chase after it surged through him, an instinct so primal it beat back the fear. "Victor!" Bill called, snapping him back to the party. "If one of us is behind this, we need to stick together. We need to figure this out before anyone else gets hurt." But there was something about Bill's face that troubled Victor. It was more than fear, it was guilt. As if the terrifying truth hovered between them like a phantom. "Why aren't you telling us everything, Uncle Bill?" Victor pressed, desperation creeping into his voice. "What else do you know?" Because there's something I've been hiding too," Bill whispered, his breath hitching. "Something that connects to all of us." The crowd fell silent, the collective breath hanging in the air as Victor's pulse raced. If this could somehow pull them all into a deeper darkness, they needed to know. But what could he possibly reveal that would turn this night further upside down? Just then, a sound burst through the growing void, a shriek from the other side of the house. "What was that?" Victor exclaimed, dread twisting deeper in his gut. "Stay together," Bill commanded, but no one appeared to notice. The same shadows that had cloaked the figure earlier now weighed heavily over them all. Victor's heart began to thud in his chest as the fear clawed at his insides. What had they awakened? As they turned in the direction of the scream, a chilling realization set in. Whatever lay hidden in the shadows was now fully awake, and it was coming for them. What else lurked in that darkness, and who could really be trusted? Victor's breath came in ragged gasps as he and the others moved toward the source of the scream. The moon barely pierced through the thick canopy of branches above, and shadows stretched like fingers reaching out to pull them deeper into the woods. Every rustle of leaves sent shivers skittering down his spine. "What if it's someone hurt?" asked Lou, his voice quivering, as he scanned the area, searching for signs of life. The flickering lights from the party started to fade behind them, swallowed by the dark. The festive glow felt like a lie now, a pretense masking the horror creeping in. "Or something," Victor muttered, the harsh truth tumbling out of his mouth. The thought sent a jolt of terror through him. Could that cloaked figure be more than a specter of chaos, maybe even something far worse? They reached the edge of the yard, where the sound drifted away like smoke. The shouts of family mingled with the cold night air, but from here, all that could be heard was the heavy thump of their heartbeats. "Think," Bill said, pacing back and forth, his hands raking through his hair. "What do we know about each other? Secrets? Lies?" Victor felt his stomach knot again. There were whispers he had heard over the years, family grievances, accusations that hung like smoke in the air. The hasty glance family members exchanged suddenly took on a sharper meaning. "What if one of us is?" Victor started, but Bill shot him a look that silenced him. "It's not a game," Bill replied sharply, his voice tight with urgency. "This is real, and if the things I found out are right, if someone is behind this," his voice trembled, silencing the crowd that was fraying at the edges. The exhalation of fear punctuated the air between them. Lou's eyes darted around as he whispered, "We can't let this tear us apart. We're family. Or, we're hiding things that could destroy us," Victor responded, his own words shocking him as they hung in the distance like a sneering ghost. Just then, another sound sliced through the night, a soft, desperate whimper. Victor's blood ran cold. It was coming from beyond the trees. Without thinking, he plunged into the dark, trusting instinct over fear. He called back, "Stay here. I need to check it out." Bill's voice tugged at him, "Wait. We need to stick together." But Victor was already swept up in the urge, his legs carrying him forward as if chained to the sound. The branches scratched at him, and shadows flickered in his peripheral vision, but he pushed through, driven by a burning need to know. The whimper echoed again, and he rounded a thick tree trunk, revealing a small clearing barely lit by fading moonlight. What he found sent a chill coursing through his veins. There, huddled against the trunk of a tree, was a figure, a young woman, her hair tangled and her face streaked with mud and tears. "Help!" she cried, her eyes wide with fear. "You have to, they're coming." The words hit Victor like a punch. "Who's coming?" he asked, stepping closer. "Your family, they're not who you think they are," she gasped, panic surging anew. "You don't have time. They can control you." Questions bubbled in Victor's mind, but the urgent look on her face pushed him to act. But suddenly, something shifted behind him, a rustle, an electric charge in the air. The shadows deepened. He turned to see figures merging from the darkness, each one more familiar than the last. "Victor! Get back!" Bill yelled, but it was too late. As the crowd from the party emerged, their eyes glinted with an eerie light. "What have you done?" Victor seethed, backing away. The woman pressed against the tree, her eyes wide with understanding. "Run!" she screamed, her voice a raw echo in Victor's ears as a shuddering laugh rose from the shadows behind his family. But who could he trust? As the gathering of faces twisted into something grotesquely unfamiliar, Victor felt a realization seep into his bones. They'd all hidden pieces of their lives, but what dark truths had they cloaked in family loyalty? The night had become a tangled web of betrayal. And as Victor stumbled back toward the approaching darkness, he wondered, how do you escape your own blood? Panic surged in his chest as the laughter grew louder. What would he sacrifice to uncover the truth? Victor's heart raced as he glanced back at the young woman, her terrified eyes pleading for attention. They were closing in, his family morphing into threatening shadows, their once familiar faces twisted by something sinister. He felt a suffocating grip of dread wrap around him, almost like a vice. "Victor!" Bill shouted again, urgency cracking his voice. "We need to get you out of here." But what if Bill was part of this? The more Victor stared into those flickering eyes, the more the question gnawed at him. Memories collided in his mind, hushed conversations, backhanded compliments at family gatherings, secrets masked by laughter. His breath hitched as he instinctively took a step back, away from everyone he thought he knew. "Victor, don't!" Lou called out, his own face pale, shadows flickering across it like fleeting memories. They're not the same." The woman screeched, her voice cracking, cutting through the tension. "You have to believe me. They've changed." Something primal surged within him, a fight or flight mechanism hijacked by terror. He didn't just want to flee, he needed the truth. "What are you talking about?" he almost yelled, desperation mingling with anger in his tone. "They're being controlled," she stammered, drawing ragged breaths between words. "It's not just mind control, it's worse. Something is using them as vessels. He's coming. You know him. You've seen him at family gatherings." "Who?" Victor pressed, gripping the bark of the tree, his knuckles white. "Who's coming?" Before she could respond, a blurred figure leapt into the clearing, piercing the darkness like a bullet. It was Mark, Victor's cousin, his face a picture of primal rage, teeth bared like a snarling dog. In his eyes burned a malevolence that threatened to swallow Victor whole. "Get away from her!" Mark lunged, and instinctively, Victor sidestepped. The action sent Mark crashing into the leaves. "Victor, we're trying to help you," another family member shouted, and suddenly, it became clear they weren't simply stepping out of the shadows. They were moving in, an encroaching tide ready to engulf him. "Stop! All of you!" Victor's voice rose above the chaos, driven by a raw need to be heard. Something deep inside screamed, warning him that the truth lay somewhere in the chaos, yet it was a truth he was terrified to grasp. "You've got to wake up," the woman shouted, panic piercing through the chaotic cries. "Your entire family is at risk. The more they're controlled, the less they can think for themselves. You have to fight it." Victor's mind raced, grappling with the enormity of her words. Who were these people? Were they still his family? Each glance, each snarled face, sent panic spiraling through him. He could see it now. They didn't just resemble his family. They embodied something utterly changed, twisted into puppets of their former selves. "Run! We have to run!" Victor shouted, breaking into motion. He turned to the woman, finding her gaze locked on him, urging him forward. "Wait!" she cried, her hands reaching out to him. "You can't just leave. You need to know who the puppet master is." But there was no time. A shuddering laugh erupted from the collection of figures moving closer, and Victor felt his heart plummet. "Don't you want to see the truth?" They whispered in harmony, their voices woven together ominously. "Family is everything, isn't it?" He felt the edges of his world fray, and with each step into the darkened night, he realized this was just the beginning. As he turned to flee, he couldn't shake her warnings. He was plunging into unknown depths, and the shadows called to him. Who controls them? He thought again, dread creeping back with each breath. Could he really unearth the truth without losing himself? The laughter surrounding him echoed in his ears as Victor sprinted into the void, a single thought racing through his mind. Would the next truth he unearthed be the very one that destroyed him? The cool night air cut through Victor's lungs as he ran, branches clawing at his skin like angry hands. His mind raced. He couldn't let the shadows of his family consume him. Each backward glance revealed twisted grins, the family he grew up with now distorted, puppets of a cruel master. Fear wrapped around him like a shroud, suffocating him with every beat of his racing heart. "Victor! Wait!" The woman's voice pierced through the chaos, but it felt distant, unreal. He couldn't afford to look back. Their voices hummed in sinister chorus, haunting and hollow. But she had said something important, puppet master. Each frantic footfall sent shockwaves of dread through him. Who was pulling the strings? Maybe he had been too blind to see, too naive to notice the warning signs. Suddenly, a sense of urgency arose within him, driving him deeper into the trees. "Victor!" BIL's voice echoed, desperate and filled with an insistent pain. "We're family. We can fight this. Family." The word turned bitter in his mouth. Were they really still family? Or had the bonds that once tethered them together turned into chains forged in darkness? Victor skidded to a halt, feeling the forest close in around him. His breaths rushed in ragged gasps as he leaned against a rough trunk, using it to brace himself. Heart pounding, he strained to listen, desperate for any sign of hope against the looming dread. The woman's pleading face flickered in his mind. "Why do you want to save them? They're already lost." He wheezed into the night. Suddenly, a deep rustling erupted in the underbrush beside him. It froze him in place, a terrified gulp catching in his throat. Out of the shadows, a figure emerged. Mark. His cousin's face contorted with rage, eyes glimmering with an otherworldly light. With every step, he morphed further into something grotesque, each feature becoming more alien. "Give in, Victor," Mark growled, voice like gravel. "You can't fight us. You belong with family. You can help us win back what?" Victor snapped, cutting him off, voice shaking with defiance. "Your humanity. It's like you don't even know who you are anymore." For a fleeting moment, doubt crossed Mark's face. Victor seized the opportunity. "Where's this puppet master? What does he want?" Silence fell heavily between them, then Mark lunged. Victor barely dodged, adrenaline flooding his veins. He dashed deeper into the woods, branches slapping against him like whips. In the distance, the others surged, their voices echoing with manic laughter. "He can't hide from us. Family!" they cried, taunting, inciting. The word twisted in the air like a curse. Victor spotted a narrow path weaving through the undergrowth. He sprinted down it, heart pounding not just from fear but from some guttural resolve. He reached for the truth, sharply aware that understanding was his only chance against the tide. "Where are you?" he shouted into the forest, furious at the shadows. "Show yourself." Suddenly, a low hum vibrated in the air around him, thickening like a storm. He stumbled into a clearing overhead. The moon hung forbidden, casting deceptive silver light. The silhouettes of his family surrounded him, a circle of darkness, whispering in harmony again. "Join us, Victor." The air buzzed, voices wrapped in seduction. "Don't you know? The puppet master needs you next. We need you." Blood pounded in his ears. "I'm not like you," he yelled, panic igniting a flicker of defiance. But the laughter grew louder, enveloping him. "You are one of us." And in that moment, the world around him shifted. A figure, cloaked in shadows, appeared at the center of the gathering. His heart sank. "Victor, it's time to awaken." The figure's voice slithered through the air. The familiar tone cut into him like a knife. "Who are you?" Victor demanded, dread settling heavily in his gut. "Do you truly not recognize me?" The figure stepped forward, revealing a face that mirrored his own. A ghost of what he used to be, twisted by the call of darkness. Victor's breath hitched. No, it can't be. The echo of a shocking revelation burned through him, and he realized the puppet master was not just a stranger. It was someone he had once trusted with shattered resolve. Victor's world tilted precariously on the brink of devastation. What had he been running toward, and more importantly, what had he been running from? And was there any escaping family treachery now? Victor stood paralyzed, the figure before him a stark reminder of every choice he had made. "No," he breathed, panic settling like ice in his chest. "It can't be you." The shadow that mirrored him smiled, but it wasn't the smile of a loved one. It was twisted, knowing. "Oh, but it is, Victor. You always had the gift of denial. This is what we are now. What you can become," it proclaimed, each word curling around Victor like smoke. That he shook his head, staggering back as fruitless hope twisted into despair. "You're not my family anymore. You can't be." Each step was like walking through quicksand, pulling him under, drawing him closer to the darkness he'd spent his whole life fighting against. "Family is a bond that never breaks," the figure replied, its eyes gleaming ominously. "You have no choice, no escape. The puppet master knows your heart. He sees your fear. Embrace it, Victor. This is your destiny." Born into chaos, his childhood memories felt like fragile glass in his mind. His family, his once bright universe, was now a haunting cage. That's not destiny. That's a trap. Is it? The figure questioned, a laugh laced with malice echoing between the trees. "Every thread connecting you to us draws tighter with each moment you resist. You were born to lead us. This is your inheritance." The family around him moved closer, shadows entwining, forming a whirlwind of dark whispers and wretched intentions. "Join us, Victor," they echoed, voices melding into a dark melody. It was seductive like a siren's song, and for a split second, he felt a pull. "No!" he shouted. The defiance surged within him, a flicker of light against the encroaching darkness. "I won't give in. This isn't who we are." Something shifted. The forest grew silent, tension thickening in the air. Victor felt the weight of 100 gazes pressing down on him. Even the trees seemed to stop breathing. Just then, a branch cracked nearby, a distraction. Victor turned sharply, hope flickering as he broke through the circle. "I have to find them," he gasped, catching glimpses of movement in the shadows outside his family's grip. With renewed determination, he sprinted past the figures, who were momentarily stunned. How could someone fight against something that was inherently part of them? He wasn't sure, but he couldn't stop. Not now. As he escaped the encircling darkness of his family, he burst into an open area, wider than before. But ahead lay more darkness, an abrupt drop into a severe ravine, steep and treacherous. He hesitated at the edge, glancing back to the gathering shadows, who now were advancing, urgency embedding their features. They would pursue him relentlessly. Their whispers had become vicious growls echoing through the trees. He had to decide, leap into uncertainty or confront the collective being of despair behind him. With no other choice, he leaped, feeling the wind whip around him as he fell into the unknown, the shadowy chorus receding further into the night. Moments blurred into eternity as he plummeted, then, he hit the icy water at the bottom, pulling him into darkness. Coldness enveloped him, shock taking over as he resurfaced. Gasping, he scanned the banks of the ravine, frantic for any sign of help, a way out. But the water was restless, crashing against rocks, and fear tightened in his chest. He had escaped one danger only to be swallowed by another, and then he saw her silhouette flickering against the moonlight. "Victor!" The woman called, urgency lacing her voice. "This way." His heart surged. "Help me." He splashed towards her, hope igniting as she beckoned, but shadows loomed behind him, shifting sets of eyes glinting with hunger. With every ounce of strength, he swam toward the light, desperate to reach the haven she promised. But he could hear the tenacious calling of his family, closing the distance, darkness thrumming with determination, ready to reclaim him. Would he escape the depths of fear, or would the strings of familial ties pull him back into the abyss, forever dancing to the puppet master's tune? Victor! And as he reached out for her, could he really trust in her light against the shadows creeping ever closer? The water churned around Victor, the cold biting into his skin as he fought against the current. He strained his eyes against the darkness, desperately squinting for the woman who beckoned him. Just ahead, her silhouette danced like a flickering flame, a beacon of hope in a sea of dread. "Victor! Come on!" she urged, stretching her arms further, her voice trembling with urgency that matched his frantic heartbeats. He pushed harder, his limbs heavy but fueled by primal instinct. The shadows behind him grew more menacing. Their whispers reached a fever pitch, coiling around him like chains, reminding him of the past he longed to escape. Thoughts raced in his mind. Who was she? How could she be here? Was she a part of the nightmare or a real ally? "Don't look back," she shouted, sensing his hesitation. "Just trust me. Please. Trust." The very foundation of every relationship he once knew now felt so fractured. Guilt and betrayal tightened like a noose around his throat. Each stroke toward her felt like leaving himself further behind. He was caught between two worlds, the specter of his family and this flickering light ahead. That in a moment of reckless abandon, he made his choice. He kicked harder, desperation pouring into each movement as he fought against the cold grasp of the water and the clutches of his family's dark legacy. He couldn't let them win. Suddenly, a shadow erupted from the depths behind him, something dark and sleek cutting through the water, its form barely visible. The depth of his fear shot through him like an electric shock. Victor gasped, forcing himself to focus on the woman who waited for him, her face now more illuminated, fierce determination etched in her features. "I'm almost there," he shouted, the words laced with a mix of both hope and terror. "Victor, you have to believe in yourself," she urged. "Fight for your freedom." In that instant, the shadow behind him lunged, a dark shape of terror emerging from the waters. Panic seized him, and he tried to pull back. Memories of his family surged into his mind, their laughter, their delusions, the darkness he had battled his whole life. But he was not just a reflection of them, he was his own man. "Leave me alone," he yelled, turning to face the dark figure. It lunged again, claws outstretched, ready to drag him back into the abyss. Victor's breath came in ragged gasps as he felt his strength waning. But deep down, something stirred, the flicker of his own identity igniting. With a primal roar, he pushed down on the water, propelling himself forward with a surge of adrenaline and purpose, breaking through the surface towards her. Dread threatened his heart as the creature used its last strength to swipe at him. He forced every ounce of will into one last stroke, feeling the water swirl against him as he pushed through the darkness. That he lunged toward her, grasping for her outstretched hand. Just as their fingers brushed, he felt the pull of fear rekindle, the whispering shadows crescenting behind him. They were not done yet, they clawed and cursed, demanding his return. The moment their hands connected, a surge of warmth enveloped Victor, lifting the weight of despair from his heart, but as he was pulled from the icy depths, he felt a shiver of cold dread at what lay ahead. "Victor, we need to move." "They won't stop," she cried, urgency piercing through the chaos that still swirled around him. Together, they stumbled in the muddy darkness, but the shadow's ire lingered like a haunting echo. Just beyond the tree line loomed a path obscured by mist, but Victor could hear them, the voices of his family, venomous and relentless. "Victor. You'll come back. We'll bring you home." They hissed, the promise of a sickening reunion laced with threats. "What do they want from me?" he gasped, glancing back as the shadows shifted and howled, becoming both parental and predatory. "They want you to join them," she said, urgency crashing in her voice. "You belong to them in more ways than one. But we can break the bond together." Victor's heart raced as the myriad of emotions flooded through him. Would he hold the strength to resist their call? Entangled in his mind was a chilling question: if he escaped, what lay beyond the shadows? "Victor, trust me. We have to keep moving." With each step they took further into the mist, the tension stretched thinner, as if the darkness thickened around them, holding their fate in suspense. Would freedom await them, or a darker truth linger just ahead? "Victor!" she cried, the shadows shifting again in pursuit. The fight was not yet over, and the real battle for his soul had just begun. The mist thickened around them, clinging to Victor like a second skin, suffocating yet strangely familiar. Each step dragged him deeper into uncertainty, and he could still hear the anguished cries of his family impersonating whispers within the darkness behind them. "Victor, come back, no!" he gasped, pushing the sound away as if it were a tangible force. The woman beside him, her name danced at the edges of his memory, just out of reach, pulled him further into the unknown, her determination lighting a path through the fog. "Keep your eyes on me," she instructed, her voice sharp yet soothing. "Whatever happens, don't break your gaze." He nodded, even as doubt clawed at him. In the shadows, he sensed the forms shifting, faces flickering momentarily into view before melting back into the haunting gloom. Each turn echoed with remnants of laughter, and flares of betrayal that stung his heart. "What if they catch us?" he asked, the words escaping in a shaky breath. "They won't. Just keep moving." Her voice was glimmering steel beneath the storm. But the intensity in her gaze twisted his stomach. Was there something she wasn't telling him? "Who are you?" he blurted, forcing her to meet his eyes. "I need to know." The moment hung between them, stretching. She hesitated, a flicker of pain crossing her features. "I'm your way out, but I can't explain everything right now." "Stop lying." The urgency surged through him. "I need to trust you, but how can I do that?" "Trust isn't given freely, it's earned," she countered, her words sending a chill through him. "But you have a choice, Victor. Keep moving forward, or turn back and find out what they'll do to you." Behind them, the whispers grew louder, merging into a cacophony of sound that struck at his sanity. Shadows lunged outward, hands grasping, clawing at the air just inches beyond his grasp. He felt their chill bursting with anger, despair, fear, everything his family had ever represented. "Go. Now," she urged, yanking him forward as the mist parted for just a moment. Through an opening, he could see a sliver of moonlight, glowing like a promise of safety. Victor aimed for it, propelled by sheer need, but just as they surged ahead, a shape erupted from the shadows. A figure of shrouded pain and rage, twisted by dark memories. It was his brother, eyes ablaze with an otherworldly light. "Victor. You can't escape us." His voice was a thunderclap, rich with malice. "You're one of us. You always will be." Fury surged within Victor, fighting against the pulse of history that his family represented. Was this the legacy he wanted? The anger flared behind him like a consuming fire, yet a bigger flame flickered within him, a flicker of purpose. "No!" he shouted, turning back towards the dark figure, only briefly. "I decide my path." The woman squeezed his hand, and through her grip, he felt the warmth of defiance. He's lying. You're stronger than them, Victor. Do you hear me? She pulled him hard, and they barreled toward the light, blocking out the looming figures of his past. Smells and sounds rushed at them, trying to drag him back. But he pushed against them and surged forward, his heart pounding against his ribcage. Just as they reached the threshold, Victor felt a violent pull from behind, his body almost suspending in two worlds. Shadows lashed out with a vengeance, grasping eagerly at his legs, pulling him back into their clutches. "Let me go!" He screamed, a primal roar resonating within him. With one final, explosive surge, he lunged toward the light, the woman beside him doing the same. They burst through the mist like a fierce wave, breaking the bonds of the shadowy realm behind them, but as the cool, fresh air enveloped him, Victor staggered. The clarity of moonlight exposed a confrontation looming ahead. An enigmatic figure stood waiting, cloaked in mystery. "Welcome back, Victor," a voice echoed, familiar yet unforgiving. Stunned by the confrontation, he had more questions than answers. What had he left behind? And what awaited him now in this new reality? The air crackled with anticipation, as the silence drew thicker. Would he step into the light, or retreat into the shadows that called him back? The night was far from over. The figure before Victor loomed in the moonlight, a shadow cloaked in familiarity that made his heart race with confusion. He squinted, straining to discern the features hidden beneath the dark hood. No one could invade his mind like this, yet here stood a specter from what he had tried so hard to escape. Who are you?" The tremor in his voice betrayed his fear, but it was also steeped with defiance. He could feel the woman beside him tense, her grip tightening around his hand. "Your past, Victor. Your true self," the figure responded softly, the voice dripping with an unsettling mix of love and regret. "I've waited for this moment, for you to realize where you truly belong." Victor felt a devastating thud in his chest. Memories flooded back, moments he wished to forget, smiles that twisted into grotesque reminders of betrayal. "I don't belong to anyone," he snapped, rage igniting in him, pushing back against the tide of shadowy influence. "Is that really true? You think you can just run away? They're waiting, all of them." The figure stepped out of the shadows, revealing a face that twisted his insides. It was his mother's face, so achingly familiar, yet so contorted by grief. She looked simultaneously pained and proud, a paradox that made Victor's head spin. "No, you're dead." The denial fell from his lips, but his voice betrayed him, dripping with disbelief. "Am I?" A chilling smile broke across her lips. "You never really understood, did you? The line between life and death is thinner than you think." "I'm right here, Victor." Her gaze smoldered with intensity. "You need to recognize that your family is not what you have created in your mind. We are all tied together. Leave him alone." The woman beside him shouted, her voice cutting into the emotional fog. Victor felt a slight jolt, as if her words were a shield against the encroaching darkness. "Stay back." His mother laughed softly, an echo that reverberated through him. "This one doesn't know the truth. She is wearing the mask of a savior, but nothing could save you from your destiny, Victor." Enough. Victor's heart pounded in rhythm with the storm within him. He wanted to turn away, to escape the words that wrapped around him like vines. "You chose the shadows. I refuse to follow." The figure flickered, momentarily revealing glimpses of his past family, wonderful times that turned dark. He could see laughter turn to screams in the disarray of memory. He clutched his head, wrestling with the images trying to drown him. "Look at them. Look at what you left. You think escaping will erase the truth?" She gestured dramatically, and behind her, Victor saw shadows stretching like hungry tendrils, seeking to claim him back. The woman beside him whispered urgently, "Don't let her get to you. This is an illusion, a trap." Victor felt her fierce determination seep into his bones, her words acted as a dagger to his fears. He steadied himself, breathing through his panic. He turned to the woman, pleading silently for her belief in him. They were a team, and if he faltered, they both could fall. Victor took a step towards the figure, steeling himself for confrontation. You are not my truth. You are interference. His mother's expression morphed into something more sinister, as shadows writhed around her. Then you invite pain. You want to run? The past is never really gone. The air thickened, swirling with mounting chaos. Victor's grip on the woman tightened as reality unraveled, and the horrific truth clawed its way out. You'll never escape this. You're bound, Victor. The moon dimmed as the weight of her words pressed down on him. He felt the shadows shift, merging into a powerful entity, hearts tearing as old wounds flared anew. What would it take to fully break free? Victor, it's not over. The urgency in her voice seemed to cut through, but just as the combined forces of fear threatened to drag Victor back into the suffocating darkness, he caught a glimpse of freedom, an opening, barely illuminated, flickering like a dying star. Could he abandon everything he thought he knew? Teetering on the precipice. Between memory and truth, he prepared to make a choice that would either shatter him completely or lead him toward salvation. And in that moment, his decision hung in the air, echoing ominously in the tense silence. What would he sacrifice to reclaim himself? The moment felt surreal, like each second stretched into infinity. Victor stood at the edge of understanding, teetering between the remnants of a life rooted in shadows and a future glittering with the promise of freedom. His mother's twisted visage loomed before him, a haunting specter of everything he fought against. But then he felt it, the stirrings of resolve, the pulsing defiance that could not be snuffed out. I choose my own path. He shouted, voice echoing against the cold darkness surrounding him. For every breath he took filled with newfound strength, shadows shrank back as though recoiling from the light his spirit forged. You're nothing without me. She hissed, shadows crawling toward him, desperate to reclaim him. But what they didn't know was that Victor had gathered every fragment of his past into a wall of armor. Each laugh, each tear, molded him, but they would not define him. Watch me, he spoke firmly, stepping toward the flickering light that reminded him of hope and warmth. The woman beside him glowed with encouragement, her presence a lifeline in the tumultuous night. Victor, don't let them pull you back. She cried, grabbing his arm tightly, pulling him toward the light that beckoned. The shadows writhed as Victor pressed forward, abandoning the chains of expectation. His pulse drummed in his ears, a fierce reminder of his will to escape. Behind him, the malevolent laughter of the dark family twisted around him, an echo of old fears swirling in a chaotic symphony. You're like us. You can't escape who you are. Mark's voice roared out, prodding at the wounds left untended for too long. No. He shouted back, feeling the burning need to shatter the past. I'm more than your puppet. You can't control me. As he rushed toward the light, the density of the shadows pulled at him, their claws raking across his soul. Each grasp tugged at his heart, memories igniting with every touch, moments filled with laughter and moments steeped in pain. Victor knew what he had to do. I choose family, he declared, turning to the woman next to him, but this family, the one that recognizes truth and freedom. With a final surge, he wrenched himself free of the reaching darkness, and in one decisive push, he leaped into the light. His body broke the surface like a wave crashing onto shore. The warmth enveloped him, and all at once there was clarity. He gasped, the harsh reality of oxygen filling his lungs, cleansing him from the fears that hunted him. Victor. The woman's voice was a sweet melody, cutting through the haze. She gripped his hand, pulling him onto solid ground. We did it, she said, tears of relief shimmering in her eyes. But before he could let a smile break through, a note of apprehension tangled in his gut. What now? Are they gone for good? They'll try to find you, yes, she said, her expression grave. But you've broken the first bond. Strength lies within you now. You just have to keep pushing forward. Victor met her gaze, determination burning within. The shadows may have been near to him, but he felt something shift inside. Next time, I'll be ready. They set off together, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Each step drew them away from the haunting past, and toward a future illuminated by choice. The air was fresher, the world before him filled with color, alive and breathing. In the distance, the gathering clouds of his family rumbled with anger, but their words faded into the wind. Victor looked to the woman, confidence blooming between them. "So what is your name?" A smile danced across her lips, her true self revealed in the moment. "Call me Hope. Together, we will chase away the darkness." As dawn approached, Victor stepped forward unafraid. Shadows can only linger as long as you let them. He had awakened to his truth, a truth he would battle for, every single day, and in the back of his heart, he knew he could handle whatever challenges awaited. Now it was time to start anew. If you made it this far, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and push this adventure even further. Don't leave us hanging. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And for the love of all things adventurous, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support, and only true fans understand the importance of your actions. Don't wait even one more second to share.